143-mile-an-hour winds, the strength of an EF3 tornado, a phenomenon destroying everything in its path as people fled for their lives.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
A physics professor at the University of Nevada, Reno is analyzing this fire tornado that erupted during the Carr Fire in Reno, California.
An event like this, we're talking about, there's only a handful of these documented in history.
Neil LaRoe studies fire weather phenomena. He says when the data started coming in, he was blown away by the power this vortex possessed.
It's right in the base of this thing. It's basically consuming everything. But the intensity of the winds were so strong in this event, even outside of the region where the fire was burning, we're seeing significant wind damage from this.
The force ripped trees from the ground and sheared the roofs off homes.
Literally death-defying tales of people in cars being lifted off the ground and moved and having to take shelter.
LaRoe now has a big task to understand why this happened to hopefully save lives in the future. He says the fire tornado was a combination of strong winds generated by the fire's hot temperatures and an inversion that trapped the heat and smoke. Then that inversion broke.
When you punch through that lid or remove the lid, suddenly you get explosive vertical growth in the plume that's coming off the fire. And in this case, we saw that plume go from about 18,000 feet up to 39,000 feet when that lid finally got broken.
That created an updraft, ultimately creating a thunderstorm-like environment which laid the groundwork for this tornado. While a fire tornado is extremely rare, fire whirls like this one are commonplace, and they have their own story to tell.
It tells us that winds are erratic and that there's enough fuel in that fire to be able to do something unpredictable. So it really is a warning sign for us to be very, very careful as we approach that.
Chief Moore says northern Nevada has its own examples of extreme fire conditions, like this video from the Little Valley Fire in 2016, where winds topped 110 miles an hour.
I would equate the situation here to more fire hurricane. When we get winds coming off and a fire is being propelled by winds, there's no way to outrun that fire, and there's no way to get enough resources in the path of the fire to be able to pinch it off.
Back at the University of Nevada, LaRoe is studying the data from the Carr Fire. He hopes his research will make a difference.
The goal would probably be to understand the conditions that lead to this so that, maybe evacuations can be put in place sooner instead of getting caught totally off guard.
LaRoe says that fire tornado in Redding stayed stationary for the most part, but he says that wasn't necessarily a good thing. He said that just allowed it to become more and more powerful. And it's fair to say scientists will be looking into what happened in Shasta County for quite some time. Melissa?